The dark sky over Washington, D.C. glows orange from flames tearing through the very home of the president. British troops, fresh from stomping their boots through the Capitol, march into the home of President Madison in the year 1814 during the infamous War of 1812. They eat the dinner that had been set for President James Madison, sip the man's wine, and then torch the place like a frat house gone wild. Curtains curled up in the heat, bookshelves collapsed into embers, and the roof cracked with sparks that rained down like Judgment Day. The building meant to symbolize the permanence of the Republic was a blackened husk by morning. Yet here we are, 2 centuries later, still standing as a nation. That's the wild part. The Capitol burned, but the country didn't. Now, let's pause. Can you imagine if social media existed back then? Twitter would have been trending with hashtag WhiteHouseBBQ. Instagram stories would be full of shaky videos captioned, "Yo, they burnin' Madison's crib." TikTok would have had some British soldier doing a dance challenge with a torch. The optics were brutal. For a young nation, only about 38 years old, it looked like a knockout punch. And yet, the Republic didn't collapse. Why? Because buildings are just structures. The soul of a country is in the people who refuse to let it die. That's where we can draw the lesson. Today, there are plenty of folks who say they want to watch America burn. Some shout it on the news, others whisper it in college classrooms, and some even put it in songs like they're artsy revolutionaries. They talk about tearing the whole thing down, like society is a Lego tower that just needs a hard kick. But here's the truth. Tearing things down is easy. A child can smash a sandcastle in 3 seconds, but it takes sweat, patience, and vision to build it. The British proved destruction is quick. What makes America worth fighting for is that when the ashes cooled, people chose rebuilding over ruin. Here is a fact that will surprise you. When the British torched Washington, D.C., it was not just the White House that went up. They burned the Library of Congress, wiping out thousands of books. Knowledge literally went up in smoke. That's what fire does. It doesn't discriminate. It takes the good with the bad. So when anarchists and communists chant about wanting to burn America down, they forget that it is not just corruption or greed that would burn. It would also be freedom, opportunity, and the chance to fix what's broken. Fire is an equal opportunity destroyer. And here's where the witty twist comes in. The White House is white today because of that fire. After the blaze turned the once beautiful mansion into a pile of blackened rubble, it was rebuilt, repainted, and given its iconic name. Before then, it was just called the President's House. The fire gave it an identity. Out of destruction came definition. That's the same lesson we can take for ourselves. Your setbacks, your failures, even your moments of total collapse can become the very thing that defines your comeback. The house didn't stay blackened. It became the White House. And you don't have to stay down and out either. Now let's tie this to the soul. Improving your soul is like fireproofing your life. When bitterness, envy, or laziness set a match to your spirit, you have to decide whether you'll smolder into ashes or rise with purpose. The people who rebuilt Washington, D.C. didn't wait for divine intervention or government handouts. They got to work. And that is what strengthens the soul. Not whining about how unfair life is, but picking up a hammer, grabbing the bricks, and building again. One more fun nugget. Dolly Madison, the First Lady at the time, ran into the flames to save a portrait of George Washington before she fled. She risked her life to protect a symbol because she knew that symbols matter. They remind people of who they are. That's the job of every parent, spouse, and friend today. Protect the symbols in your life. Protect family dinners. Protect bedtime stories. Protect those little rituals that remind people that love is still stronger than chaos. You don't need to save a painting, but you sure as hell need to save the tradition of family that keeps society grounded. And let me end with this perspective. When people today say they want America to burn, What they really want is change. But the lazy way is to burn it all down. The harder, nobler way is to fix what's wrong without destroying what is right. The surgical approach. It requires political independence, not blind trust in institutions that lie and manipulate, and not blind rage that leaves nothing but rubble. It requires the courage to stand in the middle, skeptical of all sides, but determined to build. Just like the White House fire taught us, America can survive flames. But its survival depends on people who would rather grab a bucket than a torch. So this week, ask yourself, are you the arsonist or the builder? Do you want to watch things collapse from the sidelines, or will you be the one carrying water into the flames? Choose wisely, because history doesn't remember the ones who cheered for destruction. It remembers the ones who rebuilt from the ashes. And that, my friends, is your Monday morning motivation.